Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hearing Your Voice with Chandra, where your voice is heard. Thank you all for tuning in with us today. I have a very special voice coming your way. Our guest today is one who is passionate about helping people to see the value and the beauty in renovating homes. I'm excited to hear what he has to say to us today. So please join me as we welcome to the show Pierre Samuels. Thank you so much, Pierre, for being with us today. What you have to share with us.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
but before we begin, if you could just tell us a little bit about who you are and a little of your background.
Okay. My name is Pierre Samuels. I am a real estate investor. I do a lot of construction work for other investors. I've been in construction for about 5 years now, and I decided to go full time with construction as of last year. So now it's a very exciting time. Post pandemic, a lot of people are starting to invest more. People are starting to enjoy passive income. So that's why I come in at to help people out.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, what motivated you to start renovating homes? And you say you've been doing it for about 5 years now, right?
I
So
have.
what motivated you to start?
My first house that I purchased was a little small shotgun house over in the bottom, roughly about 600 square feet. And
Okay.
anything and everything that you can imagine was wrong with this house. Foundation
Wow.
issues, roofing problems, termites, fire damage. And I bought the house, didn't know anything about construction at the time. So
Mhm.
I slowly started renovating the house myself. And as you can imagine, I hired a lot of contractors. And with the contractors, I hate to say it, but I ended up getting the short end of the stick. So that's when I kind of got hands on and started doing it myself. And I realized, like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. And, a
Okay.
few years later, I started my own construction company.
Sweet. All right. Okay. So, how do you determine then, like, what type of home to purchase? I know you said this house was like a shotgun house,
hmm
had so many issues. Well, how do you determine like what's the right property to purchase?
So when it comes to purchasing homes, it's pretty much up to the investor. Some investors have the mindset they want to be a landlord, so they want to go the Section 8 route. Some investors have the idea they just want to do buy and flips. They buy a home, they renovate it, and then they sell it. They don't want to go the route of having a rental.
Mhm.
But it's pretty much up to the investor.
Okay.
There are so many different ways to do it. Even wholesaling, that is
Okay.
ideal these days.
Mhm.
Person does not own the home. They don't really have too much interest in the homes. They pretty much are the middleman from the purchaser to the buyer. And that's
Okay.
a great avenue to get started.
Awesome. So, is location like a factor or anything
When
like
it
that?
comes to real estate, it's
Mhm.
always location, location,
Mhm.
location. But at the
Mhm.
same time, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
That's
So
true.
just because
Yeah.
one person doesn't want to invest in an area, another person will.
Okay. So, what all factors do you
It's pretty much up to the investor. You got to look at the
consider?
end game.
Okay.
Some investors are strictly passive income with rentals, and
Mhm.
some of investors they just want to strictly buy houses and sell them.
Mhm.
Just kind of like a turnkey and make
Mhm.
a big profit up front. So you have to ask yourself, what is your end goal?
Okay.
And once you figure out your end goal, then it's easy to get started.
And that's like determining how much it's going to take to renovate a home as well, like how much you buy the house for, and how much you're going to put in it to renovate. So all of those are kind of like factors that we have
Yes.
to
So when it
consider.
comes to
Mhm.
investing into real estate, it's always a numbers game. You got to make
Okay.
sure whatever number that you put into it, you're going to be able to make that number back plus whatever profit. So if you want to
Oh,
become
okay.
an investor when it comes to rent homes, you got to make sure like, hey, it's going to take me so much time to make my money back, and then you start making profit. Or if you're
Mhm.
doing a buy and sell,
Mhm.
you flipping a house, you want to make sure that hey, if I put buy this house for this much, I put this much into renovation, I should be able to make this much profit.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. So you got to make sure that you take those things into consideration
Yes, ma'am.
first before you purchase the home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's a
Awesome.
lot to consider.
Wow. Okay. So how do you stay in budget when you're renovating homes for others?
So by me being a contractor, your contractor is gonna pretty much be your first line of defense.
Mhm.
When it comes to renovating homes, you always want to make sure you have a good contractor because a contractor can make or break your budget. because no matter how much you plan accordingly up front, sometimes there are things that you can't see until you actually get into the project. And that's when a good contractor will come in and say like, hey, we can make this work if we just make some small adjustments. But with a bad contractor, you just never know how they may go.
Wow. Okay, so are those some of the challenges that you face when you're getting into that renovation process? Into something, say, oh wow, this is going to need a little bit more attention than what maybe the seller, the purchaser, whoever, the home belongs to, the owner. That's what I'm trying to say. More than what they budgeted for. Is that like a challenge when you actually get into the renovation process and see?
Yes. Sometimes it is. Sometimes when you go over budget, that means if you're buying and selling a home and you go over budget, that means you're going to have to sell the house for a little bit more than what you planned. And it's sometimes bad because maybe the market doesn't allow for that much of an increase. Yes. Okay. Sometimes the house sit on the market for a while. But at the same time, sometimes you just might look up and it's like in a really good neighborhood that somebody really wants to get in, so you might be able to recoup that.
Okay. Is there other ways that you can kind of like maybe cut corners with the price and say, okay, if we do this and that, maybe it won't be so much too expensive? How do you get into that?
So sometimes with the material, sometimes you can cut pricing on material. So instead of sometimes going for like granite countertops, maybe you can go with a laminate countertop. Okay. You know, sometimes instead of going with like a tile floor, sometimes you can put in laminate or vinyl floors. You know, they look just like as nice, but it's like yes, ma'am. Okay. So sometimes it look really nice, but it's still a step down. But when people walk in, they still get that wow factor.
Sweet, awesome. Okay, so people, I guess they would purchase homes too. Renovate, live in. You know, I mean, would you say that's something good, or should they go ahead and purchase a home that's already renovated? What's your take on that?
Me personally, I'm all for a fixer-upper. We love those. That's when a homeowner has a house that's a little rough, just needs some few upgrades, cosmetic. But as you being a homeowner, you're pretty much footing the footprint. You know, you have an idea of like what you want. And so that's when you can go out and you can spend a little bit more on the material, because 9 times out of 10, the homeowner's going to want to get in and do some of the work themselves, right? They're going to maybe want to do some of the painting. They're going to, you know, want to be a little bit more hands-on. So with that being said, sometimes the homeowner able to take some of the work from the contract and do it themselves, and that will save on labor.
That's true. Yeah, if they're able to do it themselves. So how do you ensure that you meet clients' expectations?
So with me, I have a contract, and me and the customer, we always go over the contract, and we make sure that whatever you want, everything's in black and white. I sign off, they sign off, so we have a scope of work to go by. And so whenever we have to deviate from the scope of work, you know, we make sure that we talk about, you know, what we need to do. So sometimes, like I said, if you tear down a wall, we can see the wall. But once you remove the wall, it might be something behind the wall. So then it's something that we have to address. It might be something very simple, or it might be something that's a little bit more complicated. And you make sure they know that up front. Yes. Okay. Do you budget, like, have them to budget? Like if there are some things that may be hidden? Yes. Okay. When doing home renovations, I always say add on an extra 10% just for the what ifs. So if there's no what ifs, that's the extra 10% that you can upgrade the materials. You know, that's when you can go from the laminate floor to the vinyl floor, or maybe even a really nice tile floor. But if there is something that's sight unseen that you have to address, that's what that what if's for, that you can correct it.
Okay, so what should a person look for in a good contractor? Someone who's a good renovator. I know you mention a little bit about bad one and a good one. So what are those qualities that they should look for in a renovator?
I'm gonna say it like this. Sometimes it's like looking for a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Sometimes you just get a good vibe when you first meet them. If you have a good vibe when you first meet them, hey, I think that tells you a lot. But if you get a bad vibe, hey, maybe it's a reason you're getting a bad vibe.
So that gut feeling as well.
Yes, trust your gut.
Got you. Okay. Should you go based on like maybe projects that they've done in the past, or can't really just judge on that, or what?
I would definitely say if you have someone who can recommend you to a contractor, that works out well. Me personally, I do a lot of business just word of mouth. But if you have like a really good friend or a really good family member that says like, hey, you ought to try this person, I I think that's worth its weight in gold versus
Awesome.
just going out and just meeting a stranger.
Gotcha. Okay. So, what advice would you give someone who is looking to renovate a home? What advice could you give our viewers who want to renovate?
So when it comes to renovate a home, the first thing I can say is it's a numbers game. So make sure whatever you want to do, you're going to have the budget for it.
Okay.
2, make sure that you're going to have a really good contractor. And 3, make sure that you can stomach everything, because sometimes things don't go as according to plan.
Okay.
So you just want to make sure that, like, hey, take time, breathe, and it's all going to come together.
Awesome. Awesome. Good advice. That was very good advice. So, if someone wanted to learn a little bit more about who you are, what you do, if they're looking to renovate a home, how can they get in contact with you?
I have a Facebook page, Pierre Samuels. Also, word of mouth goes a long way, so you can always give me a call. My phone number is 205-276-5821, and I'm pretty sure that you're going to tag me into it. So, by all means, click on my profile, send me a message, and we can connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Pierre, for sharing that information with our viewers. Hopefully, y'all have gained some valuable information, and if you want to get in contact with him, he shared that information with you all, and I have that information for you as well. So thank you again for joining us, and remember, open your mouth boldly, speak the word, and let your voice be heard. Thank you all for joining us today. Bye-bye.